project is all about student mental health. So I think we can safely say there's something of a student mental health crisis going on at the moment. You read about it in the news and so on, that there are rising numbers of students reporting mental health issues. It could be the case that students are perhaps more open about talking about these issues, but either way, there is a lot of potential problems going on here in universities in terms of student mental health. So thinking about these issues, and in my role as a psychology lecturer, I have been growing increasingly concerned about student mental health. And so I was thinking, what can we do about student mental health? If there is this crisis, why and what can we do to make things better? And so as a researcher, I started to think about, potentially involving students in research looking at student mental health. Now, my background is in autism research, and something I have become more passionate about is involving autistic people in research, so the research is with them, not about them. And I applied the same principle to this project. So in researching student mental health, I believe it's really important that we involve students who have experience of mental health issues, or they're very passionate about improving the situation. And so in this project, I recruited 4 students in the psychology department who happened to all be final year students. And what we did is we worked together to create a research project looking at student mental health. So the project was structured in that, first of all, we came together to meet and talk openly about the issue of student mental health. And we talked about all of our experiences and the experiences of our peers and decided on some of the key issues at hand. The next step then was to think about what we could do about these issues and perhaps what research questions there were within that. So with the research question, one of our main ones was about the barriers to preventing students accessing support with their mental health. And so after identifying that research question, what we did was we went away and did our own bit of research in terms of the pre-existing literature, and then came back together to think about what gaps there might be and what we could do to address the research question. And from there we designed our study, and the students did a brilliant job of recruiting people to take part in the study from across the UK. They got around 500 people taking part. So now we're at the stage where we're working together to write up the results for an academic journal. And so it's been a really brilliant experience. So we worked together from day one, developing the project, and now hopefully we're at the point where we're going to disseminate the findings, which I think are very interesting. So the benefits of this project, I think, are kind of twofold. So firstly, there are benefits for the students themselves. So in the psychology department, we give our students really good research methods training. But what all the students said to me about this research project was there was that kind of element of autonomy, where they really were taking their skills they picked up in their degree and going beyond that. And I think all of them reflected as well on how it made them more passionate about research as well. For all these students, they're thinking about going on to postgraduate study and careers in psychology. So research is really important for those career paths. So for them, this opportunity has given them something extra for their CVs. And I think they've all really taken on this project well, and they are really brilliant candidates for future roles. The second element, which I think is important, is for staff, for myself. I have learned so much from these students. Just to work with them, to hear about their experiences, I really have genuinely learned a lot. Because I've acted not as a supervisor of the research, but in a more almost mentor role and a co-researcher. So I really have been learning from them as well as them learning from me. So really I've learned so much. The benefits are very broad for both me and the students. In terms of tips for other people, I think what's brilliant is right now we're seeing that universities are more and more having these teaching focused roles for staff. And often part of that role is that we should be thinking about doing pedagogical research, about how students learn, about how we can teach better, and topics like student mental health. So I think if people are in those roles, I think it's important for them to think about if they want to research something to do with students, that they should consider really involving students in their research. Because I think, as I've outlined, there's some really great benefits of that. And so just by talking to students, it can make our research better if we're researching them. So I would really strongly advise anyone who's doing research in this kind of area to really involve these students.